In the war-torn land of South Sudan, our main character, Bol, is carrying his daughter, Nyagak, in his arms. He and his wife Rial ride a vehicle transporting them and other people. They are trying to escape their country via boat, crossing borders to find a better life in another country. Unfortunately, on their way, they encounter a tragedy that will keep haunting them. The next scene shows them detained in a place for refugees somewhere in the United Kingdom. A guard calls them to face a panel of people from the agency assisting refugees. Anxiety is evident on their faces as they think they might be sent back to their dreaded place. Fortunately, the immigration officer congratulates them, saying they are to be released today. However, they clarify that they are only being released on bail, as asylum seekers, and not as citizens. The officer explains that they must meet all of the conditions, or else they will be sent back to detention. Weekly allowances will be given to them, and they will be assigned to a home. They are not allowed to move from this address. The same night, they are transported to their new home. They arrive the next day at the location. A man sent by the agency, Mark, meets them, gives them their supplies, and gives them a tour of their new house. The house is pretty big for just two of them, but it sure needs some fixing and cleaning. Mark even comments that it's bigger than his house. As he explores the new house, Bol cannot help but cry. Meanwhile, Rial is quietly trying to absorb everything. She caresses a doll that belonged to their daughter. Unfortunately, when the boat capsized, they lost Nyagak to the sea. She takes out the doll's beaded hem and turns it into a necklace. She keeps this as something to always remember Nyagak by. The next morning, Bol hears some noises from outside. Then, suddenly something clatters in the house. Trauma from his hometown kicks in, and he starts hearing shouting, screaming, and gunshots in his head. He tries his best to make the noises go away. The next day, Bol goes to town for a haircut and some groceries. On the way back home, he spots a church where a man gives him a box of food supplies. He also goes into a bar where a group of men are watching football. He joins them as they cheer and sing. He seems to be settling in quite well. That night while sleeping, Bol is awakened by the sound of footsteps climbing their stairs. He goes down to check it but sees no one. Then, a wallpaper suddenly falls, revealing a big hole in the wall. He sees a rope sticking out and pulls it. He pulls and sees seaweeds attached to the rope, which is impossible as they are nowhere near the ocean. At the end of the rope, he sees Nyagak's doll, making his heart skip a beat. Then, a hand reaches out and grabs the doll, surprising Bol. He looks away for a second, and when he looks back, the wallpaper is back in place, and the hole is gone. Bol realizes that something is wrong with the house. He starts peeling off the wallpaper and scraping the walls. The next day, Rial sees the walls and looks for her husband. Bol is out shopping for tools. Meanwhile, Rial decides to step out and go to the doctor's for a checkup. She follows the map that Mark gave them. She seems to be getting lost as she always ends up in the same corner. Then, she sees a group of boys playing and asks for help with directions. However, they just mock her and even tells her to go back to Africa. She eventually finds the doctor's office where Dr. Hayes attends to her. The very nice doctor notices her necklace, and Rial shares that it's her daughter's. The doctor smiles, saying she should check her daughter too. However, Rial tells her that she lost Nyagak at sea when they came to this country. She arrives home and sets her groceries down. Then she sits on the floor when the apples she bought fall. One rolls towards her, and when she is about to pick it up, it rolls further into the wall. Rial stares at the hole, like she's seen something so shocking. That night, Bol arrives late and Rial waits for him before eating dinner. Then, Rial starts sharing a story about a poor man in their village who wanted a home of his own. He wanted it so badly that he began to steal from other people. He stole from an old man who lives by the river, not knowing that the man is an apeth, a night witch. So when the man built his home, he did not know that the witch would come live there too. Before long, the man started hearing whispers of the apeth's spells. The apeth did not stop until he had consumed the man entirely. Then, Rial states that an apeth has risen from the ocean the night they crossed it, and it has followed them in this house. She even says that it spoke to her. Bol asks what it said to her. She answers by saying if they just leave and pay their debt, the apeth would bring them back to Nyagak. Bol angrily emphasizes to Rial that Nyagak is gone. That night, Bol starts working on the walls again. When he hears rustling, he sees someone's shadow approaching, and then a child suddenly runs, extinguishing the only candle lighting up the room. Bol gets a flashlight and sees the child sitting on the floor stabbing it with a knife. The child is wearing a mask. It then starts attacking him, then pulls back into the corner. Bol is stunned at what just happened and clumsily points his light at the child, but it's already gone. He hears humming and whispering as well as footsteps. Scared, he runs out of the house. He gets back inside and decides that they have to destroy everything they brought as all of it is cursed. Rial tries to stop him. He sees the necklace she's wearing and tries to get it, but Rial tells him not to leave her with nothing. However, Bol successfully takes the necklace and throws it onto the flame. Bol goes to the mall the next day to shop for new clothes. Then he continues to work on the walls and the house's electricity. At dinner, Bol suggests that it's not good for Rial to always be alone with her thoughts, and tells her they will find something for her to do the next day. Bol is set on fitting in with their new community, but Rial thinks they do not belong there. Rial reveals that the witch spoke to her telling her she can get her daughter back, and that she should be afraid of Bol. He just holds her hand and tells her that this is their home. Then he continues eating, and the camera shows us a wider shot, wherein no Rial is sitting in front of Bol. The house's walls are all broken, and the floor is flooded with water. Bol is oblivious to the sudden change in his surroundings until he hears voices around him. Then he looks down and sees a corpse beneath him, suddenly opening its eyes and standing up. Bol is surprised and falls on the floor. Corpses keep rising from the water, approaching him. Then he wakes up. It was just a dream. However, the dream seems to follow him as he sees a corpse walking towards him. He jumps up and opens the light. Just as he thinks it's gone, he sees muddy footprints on the floor, and when he closes the light, he sees a ghost. Then, he hears voices all around. When he looks at the corner where the light switch is, he sees the kid wearing a mask, who he suspects is Nyagak. Nyagak clicks the switch and the light goes out. Ghosts appear and gang up on him, trying to cut his throat. He manages to reach for the switch just in time, making the ghosts disappear. Then, he sees another ghost running in the walls, and he angrily tells it that this is his house, demanding that they get out. He furiously bangs on the walls with his hammer. The next day, he heads to Mark's office, telling him he wants to live somewhere else. Mark asks for the reason, and he says that there are vermins in the house. He makes up a lie saying the pests are making Rial very sick, even saying that the doctor advised them to get out of the house. Mark tells him that his request will raise a lot of questions, and that may not be a good thing for him and Rial. Mark is being really weirded out by Bol showing up like this. He tells him there will be an inquiry to verify his complaints about the house. Bol tries to tell Mark that there is something very wrong with the house, but as Mark probes further, Bol just ends up laughing in front of him with a nervous laugh. Then he walks away. Mark follows him home with another guy from his office. They see what happened to the walls, and obviously do not believe that rats caused those holes. He tells Bol that he's going to have to report everything now, but Bol stops him, saying he will fix it, determined not to be sent back to detention. Mark decides to let him off with just a warning this time, and is about to go when Rial walks in, wearing her traditional clothes. She tells Mark that there is a great beast in the house which Bol has been trying to chase with a hammer all night. She states that the beast knows magic and is filling the house with ghosts. She adds that it torments Bol by showing him ghosts of Nyagak. Then, she looks at Mark and tells him that he should include what she said in his report. As they leave, Rial comments on how much Bol idolizes them, willing to do everything they want. She decides that she doesn't want to fit in here and wants to go back. She even tells Bol that she will go back without him. Bol stands firm by saying, this is their home. He even comments that Rial easily forgets everything they went through just to get here. Rial answers by saying it's Bol, who so easily forgot their daughter. Bol covers her mouth, not wanting to hear more about Nyagak. He declares that Rial is sick, and she is not going anywhere. Crazed by the obsession of calling the place his home, he locks up every window and door, and destroys the handles, leaving no way for Rial to step outside. Bol decides it's time to talk to the witch himself. He lights up a candle in the middle of the room and waits for it. When he opens his eyes, everything is dark around him. He hears a voice telling him that his life is a stolen life. The voice declares that Bol is the beast and he is the butcher, following him wherever he goes and owning Bol's life. It bargains with him, his life in exchange for Nyagak's. It hands out a knife, telling him to open his flesh. Bol asks why the witch is not coming for him instead. This is when he realizes it cannot touch him. Then, the witch shows him a dream. He's in the middle of the ocean. Nyagak emerges from the water while hands stop him from looking away. The witch makes him watch as an octopus comes out of Nyagak's mouth. In reality, Rial is observing Bol, who is in a trance, even peeing himself due to the horrors he is seeing. She takes this chance to escape. However, Bol wakes up and stops her. Desperate to flee, she fights back and stabs Bol in his leg with the screwdriver she is holding. She manages to find a window and escapes. However, as soon as she's outside, she is taken back to her hometown in South Sudan. She sees her sisters and friends inside what seems like a classroom. All the village women are gathered, welcoming her return. Rial is taken back to the past. She comes back to the day they fled their village. Bol takes her and they journey to the border where people are being transported to escape. The bus is about to leave and it's already full, but Bol keeps trying to convince the operator to take them. Moments later, armed men are approaching, firing their guns. Bol then sees Nyagak and shows her to the bus operator, insisting on taking the three of them in. He manages to convince the operator, who assumes that the three of them are family. Rial observes this and realizes the truth that Nyagak is not their daughter. Nyagak's real mother sees her being taken away and runs after the bus, but she stumbles and cannot keep up. Nyagak keeps calling out to her real mother, but Bol stops her. It is revealed that Rial is incapable of bearing a child. Maybe this is why she planted it in her mind that Nyagak is her daughter, concealing the truth from herself. When their boat capsized, Bol hurried to rescue Rial, leaving Nyagak, whose life eventually gets taken by the ocean. The poor innocent child who was only looking for her mother earlier. She gets taken by Bol so he and Rial can board the bus, bringing her with them, and eventually meeting her demise. Rial realizes what they have done to the little child. Then, the Night Witch speaks to her. It tells her that it can bring Nyagak back. It offers a knife, telling her all she needs to do is sever Bol's flesh. It turns out that in reality, when Rial jumped out the window earlier, she passed out in front of the house. Bol finds her and takes her back inside. She sees the knife on the kitchen counter, and it seems that she has decided to give the witch what it wants. When she looks back at Bol, she sees that he has already cut his flesh, just like the witch wants. He reveals that the witch also told him to do this in order to save Nyagak. Bol tells him that the witch is coming for him, so she should go now. The ground shakes and suddenly, the monster emerges. It grabs Bol's wounded arm and inserts his hand there, as if trying to wear Bol's skin. Then, Rial decides to come back and defeat the monster, saving her husband. Weeks later, people from the agency visit them along with Mark to see how they are doing. The holes in the wall have all been fixed by Bol, and Mark says that they seem well. In the end, the couple decides that this is their home. They have chosen to stop escaping the ghosts of their past. Instead, they allow them to live with them in that house.